Hello, we are here again in a podcast. We are the winners of Ethics and Trust in Finance Global Prize. Say something, Cristóbal, first.
Yeah, hi. Nice to meet you again. I'm Cristóbal Miguel from Panama and Costa Rica. I'm a lawyer and mediator, and right now I'm currently developing fintech after 10 years of banking regulation.
Simone, you could introduce yourself as well.
Hello, my name is Simone Heinemann. I'm from Germany. I have a PhD in economic ethics, and I'm currently working in an international bank.
Thank you, Simone. And now, Matthew, when you want.
Hello, my name is Mateusz Kucz. I'm from Poland. I am a philosopher, ethician, and I work in a university in Poland. Thank you.
Thank you. And myself, I am Leire San Jose. I am associate professor at University of the Basque Country, and I am the leader of Equity Research Group. We are working about ethics in finance and social value, and now I am the ExCom member of EVEN, European Business Ethics Network. Today we are going to speak about a specific subject. It is, wait a minute, we have here the question. We are going to try to answer this question. What does ethical banking mean to you? We are going to start with Simone. When you want, your time to answer.
Thank you, Leire. Yeah, ethical banking for me has two sides. On the one hand, it involves negative duties, which every bank has, like the duty not to harm anyone. For example, a bank must not discriminate, for example, in lending practices. A bank must avoid human rights violation. This is very general, but these are the things which banks definitely must not do. And on the other hand, ethical banking is for me also about positive duties, which is a duty to do something actively. And this means for me that a bank has to consider social and environmental impacts of every investment that they are doing and that their client is doing. And the bank must use all of their resources, for example, to foster infrastructure projects, for example, in developing countries. So all in all, I would say ethical banking is for me that a bank takes over social responsibility because they are able to do it. So because most of the times they are in the middle of everything like an intermediary, so this is something they have to do. Okay, next over to Mateusz. What is your opinion on that?
Well, I think that for me, ethical banking is banking that puts people before profits. Maybe it sounds harsh, or maybe it might be surprising for some people that it's possible, or even to postulate to do this, but I believe it's possible, and I believe it's something we can achieve, and that's the goal we can put forward. That I believe on every level, banking can put people before profits. From the basic level, when we cut the deal with the individual client, we can take care of his interests, not only the bank interest. We can remember that to serve him, not to not to take advantage of him on different levels. That's one thing the banks should not do. On the other level, banks should remember to be responsible on a society level, as Simone said earlier, and on the biggest level, banks have big influence, so we need to remember also about the global influence the banks and financial sector have. So we need to remember about ecological influence, but also remember on the long-term results of investments and long-term goals, not only short-term gains and profits. So, Lyra, what about you?
Thank you, Matthew. So interesting. Here we have made research before just to differentiate ethical banks with traditional banks. In this line, we have 4 different aspects to take into account. The first was the transparency. It is quite important to get information about what is doing the bank, whatever it is, ethical or social or just traditional other typologies. The second one, it is in which funds, in which activities it is our money. It is important for us. The third, it is if there is a participation of different stakeholders. And the last one, if they have different guarantees. Our results, it is like the first, transparency, they are quite different on transparency, and most of the banks, they are doing very good job there. But with the two, third, and four, what mean in which part it is our money, most of our banks, they are trying to do some effort there, but ethical banks guarantee that our money, it is in social and positive aspects, companies or projects. The problem was that ethical banks, they are not different on the participation of stakeholders, and they are not different with different guarantees to keep the money there and get lending from them. So we have many different options to speak about all of these aspects. Moreover, I want to comment a last thing, and it is that most of our traditional banks, that I call like that, they are doing some effort on trying to focus on different social and environmental aspects, like Simone and Matthew that commented before. Here, the problem is that these traditional banks, they have a lot of resources to report, to communicate, and to make feeling that they are doing well in this aspect. But I am so worried about this one, because normally they are trying to focus on profit more than on social aspects. So it is a big challenge to understand what is first, social or people, like Matthew say, or profit. Thank you, and now the Cristóbal opinion.
Oh, it's glad you developed from, or you finished with words from Mateusz, because I would like to develop from what you mentioned. But before, I'd like to mention that to me there are 3 kind of levels of being ethical in a bank. So I would expect that every bank has to behave in a trustworthy way. When I worked in the supervision of banks, that was something that was needed from all the banks. So it's a bank that is not working ethically should not be in the commerce. So that was expected for every company that is in the free market. The second part would be like, what about banks that they would like to do something of promotion of human values in the society, or making a social impact, or as Simone mentioned, like trying to not to do harm, not to enter into investment or activities that could be in some way harming the values of the society. That would be for me the second type of bank, which is like more conceived as ethical banks, as categories were mentioned from by Leire. Examples of this type of banks, I could mention one here in Italy that's called Banca Etica. The same very name, it's called Etica. But I think that there's a third movement, which is the one I'm keeping the eye on. It's called behavioral banking. It's a subset of banking, which is like, can we make the clients have changes in their behavior so they become in a better way of living? And there's an example in South Africa. There are different examples, but the one that I would like to mention is called Discovery Bank. And what they do is they help via the credits that they'll issue to the clients. They are helping the clients to have a healthier way. So it is also beneficial for the bank, because if the client is healthier, the insurance policies are also more secure. So a healthier person is a beneficial client for the bank. So it's a win-win situation. And yeah, so having mentioned that, I would like to have an open question to all of us. And it would be like kind of also developing from the study that the Institute of Leire had conducted, which is like, if we make a differentiation between traditional banks and ethical banks, those who are in the traditional banking, wouldn't they think or believe that they are being separated or discriminated? Like, wow, we haven't put enough effort on this, or we haven't put our budget on social values impact, but still we are working on ethical, because as far as we know, I'm kind of talking as I were one of those bankers, as far as we know, everything what we do is under the scope of regulation. So is there something there that is missing, or is it okay to be just in compliance? What would be your comments on this?
Difficult question, Cristóbal. I think that yes, traditional banks, they have been focused all of the time with supervision, with many different guarantees. So they are all very focused on the profit all of the time and not that much on the social. It was a real situation till now. Nowadays we have changed. They have a lot of different problems because their business has finished. So now they are trying to found a different business, and they have seen that the ethical banking, it is an option. I agree that it is great to differentiate. And for example, I think that we have there a market to people that want to feel, that want to be there close to funds, close to financing area. So maybe there they have the option, but we could complain, yes, and the banks, maybe they could make much better. I hope that they are going to do. Any comment of others?
If I may, I believe that it's beyond compliance. It's something more. To be ethical, you need you ought to do more than just to fulfill the rules. That's my belief, and I think that when I spoke about putting people before profits, I think that it also implies that we should care, and that the care is the should be new center for the finance. So that's taking care of somebody is doing something more than just fulfilling your duties.
Well, I would agree to Leire. I would say that traditional banks, we don't know them anymore as they have been 10 or 20 years ago, because compliance is not enough for a bank today. Just to be compliant or just to fulfill the rules is not enough. Even a traditional bank has to invest in social responsible investments and has, in order to win new clients. So I think that the world of traditional banks is changing a lot, and we will have, I hope so, more ethical banks in the future.
Thank you so much. I think that if you have any questions, comments, maybe you could send to our email office. There, it is there in the slide. So see you soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
See you later. It's been a pleasure. Bye.